Lesson 8.1, multiplying a monomial by a polynomial. So before we even get started on the problems here, you guys, let's just identify what these words mean. The word monomial sounds fancy, but it just means one term. Okay, and the word polynomial, any guesses? Many terms. And you're going to hear us talk a lot about monomials versus polynomials, and that's the only difference. Monomial is one term, polynomial means many terms. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at our examples here. Problem number 1, find each product. So product does tell us that we're multiplying, but also can you see that we're going to have to distribute here? And that's another way we should know that this is multiplication happening. Before we get going, let's remember one of our exponent rules. Do we remember that x to the a times x to the b is equal to x to the a plus b? Should we do an actual example here? If I say x squared times x to the 4th, this does not give me x to the 8th, this gives me x to the 6th. So when we're multiplying and dealing with exponents, remember the key is to add. Okay, so let's take a look at problem number 1. We've got c. Let's put a 1 in front and let's put a little 1 on the c. So we got c to the power of 1 times everything in this group. So c is going to multiply each of these items. So 1 times 5 we know is 5. And then c gets a new exponent, right? We take this 1 and this 2 and we add them and we get c to the power of 3. Now we're going to multiply 1c times negative 2c. Let's put a little 1 there so we can see it. All right, so now 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. And c to the first power times c to the first power is equal to c to the power of 2, right? We're adding exponents again. And then finally, I don't have c at all in this last term. And so we just kind of leave it like it is. 1 times 4 is positive 4. C by itself, right? That came from this term. Now check for like terms. I don't have any like terms because all my exponents are different. So that means that this is as much as I can do. And this is my final answer. 5c3 minus 2c squared plus 4c. All right, let's take a look at problem number 2. Problem number 2 tells us to multiply 5x squared to, then it gives us these parentheses. So I'm going to rewrite this so it looks like the last problem we did. Got a 2 plus 5x plus xy squared. All right, here we go. Let's multiply 5x squared times 2. 2 doesn't have any x's at all. So 5 times 2 is 10, and we just keep x squared because that came from the outside term, right? Just stayed the same. 5 times 5x, okay, well we know 5 times 5 is 25. And then x squared times x to the first power, right? We add those exponents, and we get x to the power of 3. And then finally we have 5x squared times, all right, there's no numbers here, so let's put a 1. So our 5 is still our coefficient. And now what we have to do is we have to really pay attention to our bases because I have an x and I have a y here. So I can add this 2 and this 1 because they both are on an x and get x to the third power. And y squared doesn't change, but it is part of our final term, right? Because it came from this term right here. So this is what we're left with. And we do not have like terms because this has x squared, this has x cubed. Whoops. And then we also have x cubed y squared, which again are not like terms to anything. All right, problem number 3. You guys are going to notice, I mean, you already know this. So it's like you're getting it, this is it. All we're going to do here is make them longer, more terms. We might have to combine like terms, which we've been doing, or maybe some fractions here at the end, right? So if you get it already, like this is as good, this is as difficult as it gets here. Let's try number 3. 6c times d. Well, don't have any like terms here. I got a c and a d, which means they just stay separated. 6cd. 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. And I got a c in both of these, which I get to add together and say c to the power of 2. And finally, 6c times 3. Well, 6 times 3 is 18. I don't have any c's here, so it just stays c1 just from the outside. Now we're done with the distribution. We have to now look at the next part of this. So now we're going to do the distribution in the next term. So now 70 is multiplying times c. So I'm going to get a positive 7cd. Notice that I wrote cd instead of dc. That's just because in math we like to go in alphabetical order with our letters if we can. So 7cd. And then 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. And don't forget you need a d on there because you got it from that outside term. All right, now before we're finished, we need to check for like terms. And in this case, we actually do have like terms. We have two terms with cd, which means that we're going to add those together. So my final answer here, we've got negative 30c squared plus 18c. And then I'm going to add together 6 plus 14 and get 13cd minus 14d. That is as much as I can do. I don't have any other like terms to combine. All right, let's take a look at problem number 4. Here we go. All right, problem number 4. Let's start with the first term. We have 4a times b. We don't have any common bases, so it just stays 4ab. 4a times negative 4 is going to be negative 16. And then we got to do an a, right? That's coming from this term. This didn't have any, so it just stays a. All right, well, let's do the next one. Now we got 3b multiplying this parenthesis group. So 3b times b, okay, they're both b's, which means I can go ahead and add both of the exponents and get 3b squared, all right? And then I've got 3b times negative 6, which is going to be negative 18b, right? That comes from the outside because this one didn't have any. And then we've got one final group here that we're going to do. We got negative b. There's not a coefficient at all, so if you want to put a 1, you can do that. So we got minus 1ab. Again, I did alphabetical order. And then negative 1b times 2, which is going to be a negative 2b. Sorry about that. Negative 2b. All right. Now check for like terms. All right, I see some. Let's see here. Sorry, I turned my phone on silent. All right, so I've got 4ab and negative 1ab. So those are like terms. I've also got, let's see here, 18b and 2b. 3b squared does not a like term to those other yellow ones because it has a 2, right? The squared part of it makes it not a like term. So now to finish up my answer, I'm going to have negative 16a plus 3b squared. I'm going to combine my two green ones and say I got a positive 3ab. And then I'm going to combine my two yellow ones and say minus 20b. The most important thing you could do in these kinds of problems, you guys, is take your time, be slow, and be careful. All right? In Algebra 1, these questions on tests will likely be multiple choice, so just really take your time to get those little details correct. All right, 2 more problems, and all these ones are doing to us is throwing fractions at us. All right, here we go. Problem number 5. Let's go ahead and start. We've got 6xy on the outside, and we're multiplying 1/3 x. Now, some of us know that that just means we're dividing by 3, but if you're not sure about it, you can do your calculator. 6 times, if we do alpha y equals, we've got the fraction option here, so we can do 6 times 1/3. And we can see that this gives us 2. So we've got 2, and we've got x's in both places, right? So I can add these 1s and get x squared. And then y, that comes from here. There's no y right there, so it just stays y. All right, 6 times negative 2 is going to be minus 12. And since I don't have any x's or y's here, it just stays xy from the outside term. Okay, done with the first group, the first set of parentheses. Let's look at the next one. Negative 2y times 3y, I get negative 6. Got a y in both places, right? Add those up. So I get negative 6y squared. And finally, negative 2y times negative 1 is going to be a positive 2y, right? That comes from this front term. At the end, right, we've got one more group. So let's do 5x times x. They're both x's, so we can add up their exponents. and we've got positive 5x squared, right? Remember the 2 came from adding up the 1 plus 1. And then finally 5x times 2 is going to be a positive 10, and then I have to have an x on here that came from the outside term. And now we're checking for like terms. Let's see here. X squared y, xy, y squared y, x squared x. And that's it, you guys. There are no like terms, all right? Remember, like terms have not only the same letters, but each letter, each base, they have to have matching exponents, right? Like x squared y and xy are not like terms because their exponents are not matching. So that's all I can do in problem 5. Last but not least, let's do problem 6. This problem looks kind of crazy. This is actually a question that we took off STAR from a few years ago. So when you do these problems on STAR to make them a little tougher, they do often put these fractions in there. So let's remember, this is not multiplying anything. The 9q squared stays right where it is. All right, the negative 2/3, however, is multiplying what's in this next group. So if we want to be sure and confident, we can use our calculator. So alpha y equals, type in 2/3, 2 over 3, and then we're multiplying times 3. Notice I don't even try to put a q or an x in here. I'm just looking at the coefficients. All right, so I've got negative 2q, right? The q came from right here. And then I've got negative 2/3 times negative 7. So I'm going to do second enter, so I can just change this to a negative 7. All right, and that gives me positive 14/3. So it stays a fraction in this case. And again, you guys, we're showing you this because this is how they did it on STAR. And this last term, again, not multiplying anything, so we're just going to keep it as 5q squared. Okay, last but not least, always check to see if you've got like terms, and we do have like terms. We have 9q squared and positive 5q squared. So I can add those together and get 14q squared. Don't put a 4 here, you guys. That's a very common mistake. Kids want to add the exponents. No, no, no. They're matching. They're going to stay matching, right? Matching, matching should stay matching. All right. Nothing else we can do, so I'm going to just keep my minus 2q, and I'm going to keep that lovely fraction 14/3. All right. That's it for today, you guys. Let's make sure we get lots of practice on this topic. The more you do this, the better you will get at it.